Hello everybody and good evening. My name is Sora Darkchild and welcome back to Let's Replay Phoenix Wright Trilogy. Last time we just went through another day of investigation for Ron Delight's case, and now we are about to go into the second trial for this episode. So let us begin with Part 4-1, the final trial. October 14, 9:41 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 4.
Hey, Nick!
What is it this time?
You won't believe how many people are here for this trial.
Well, it is a murder case.
What are you talking about? They're here for the trial next door.
Next door?
Why don't you know this, Nick? They're having Detective Atmey's trial today.
Detective Atmey?
They said they're going to try him as mask to mask.
Already? That was fast.
Boy, I'd love to see Mask to Mask's trial.
I know. By the way, where's Pearls?
Oh, she went back home. Said she can't neglect her training anymore.
I know you don't like me. Pearls has really gotten into her training lately, huh?
Yeah, ever since the incident last year.
Please, don't ignore me!
Oh, Mr. Delight, good morning!
No one likes me. No one would notice me, even if I killed someone.
Come on, don't be silly. Wait a sec.
You don't mean you're the murderer? No. Oh, I'm just a poor thief. No, wait. That's not right. Let's see. According to Mr. Delight, from his second crime on, he was following a bunch of plans. Plans that someone else had been sending to him to help him commit the heist.
Do you think there's a connection between the thief and the murder, Nick?
It's possible, but today's trial is a race against the clock.
Huh? How come? Let's just take our time as always.
I'm afraid that's not an option. October 14th, 10 a.m. District Court, Courtroom Number 6. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Ron Delight. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Okay, settle down, everyone. Let's begin with your opening statement, Mr. Godot. He's got the judge in the palm of his hand, yet again.
Ron Delight. It is simply too young to be sent to prison.
I'm afraid I have no idea what that means, Mr. Godot.
Then you need to get out more, Your Honor. Life is war, but that is exactly why you must be more precise in your wording. That is all my statement means. You understand now, right?
Yes. Well then, let me briefly summarize the details of this case. Wow, the judge is taking charge like he knows what's going on for a change. The victim is Kane Bullard, CEO of KB Security. His body was found in a safe at approximately 9 a.m. on the morning of the 13th. However, the time of death was estimated as 1 a.m. of the previous day.
And that's when our little lost kitten dropped the ball. That little lost kitten, of course, is the defendant.
Well then, Mr. Godot, please call your first witness.
I never drink more than 17 cups of coffee at any given trial. But the first one is always the best.
Mr. Godot, your witness?
Okay then, let's hear what the defendant, Mr. Rondelite, has to say for himself.
The defendant? Well, Mr. Wright, does the defense have any objections? It may be a bit of a disadvantage having the defendant testify, but... I remember when Mia was defending me. She allowed me to testify so she could do the cross-examination. She put a lot of trust in me back then. We have no objections, Your Honor. The defense will allow Mr. Delight to testify.
You have guts, Triton.
All right then, Mr. Rondelite, please take the stand.
You did it, didn't you?
Yes.
What?
No. That's not true.
For a moment there, I thought we set a record for the shortest trial ever.
Well, Delight already looks plenty guilty with that face he's making.
And once he opens his big mouth, he'll probably put the last nail in his own coffin.
Very well. Now, can you tell me something? If you didn't kill Bullard, why did you go to KB Security?
Well, that's kind of hard to say. I wish I could go home.
Now then, let's hear some testimony about what happened.
That evening, around 1 a.m., I went to see Mr. Bullard in his office at KB Security. The blackmail letter I got, it ordered me to go there. I'd been working for KB Security until a year ago, so I knew where his office was.
1 a.m., the exact time that the murder took place.
The weak get washed away by the tides of fate. The strong drink it up. It's bitter today, too, just like my destiny.
You'd never know that from the way he's chugging it down.
Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you please.
That evening, around 1 a.m., I went to see Mr. Bullard in his office at KB Security.
1 a.m., huh? You're absolutely sure about that?
Yes, that's what my watch said when I was entering the office. No. Actually, I'm not really sure. My watch was slow, and my internal clock was also slow.
1 a.m. That's the exact time the victim, Mr. Bullard, was murdered, correct?
The blackmail letter I got, it ordered me to go there.
It ordered you there?
It was the first time I'd gotten a blackmail letter that ordered me to go somewhere.
Does that mean you've gotten blackmail letters before then?
Oh, of course. They say things like steal this or take that.
Why don't you save those for later, Mr. Delight?
Please, don't say anymore! Now, what should I do? Let's see if I can press him for more details.
So, what did the blackmail letter say in question?
It said to bring $50,000. Oh, but wait! I never intended to pay that money anyway.
Oh? Is that right?
After all, he had nothing to hold over my head. It had nothing to be afraid of.
An important point indeed. Witness, let's have that added to your testimony.
Yes, sir.
A muddy mud skipper in outer space had a better chance of surviving than I do.
The blackmail threat didn't scare me. It wasn't going to cause me trouble or anything.
I feel like I need to come back to that one and press the next statement.
I've been working for KB Security until a year ago, so I knew where his office was.
You used to be a security chief for KB Security, right?
Yes, that's right.
A security chief? You?
This isn't good. Maybe I should change the subject? Why was he fired?
Mr. Delight, please tell us why you were fired from your job.
Well...
Okay, then I take it back. Defendant, please answer the question.
I needed money.
You needed money?
Well, you see, Desi loves to spend it. It's kind of her hobby. My salary wasn't nearly enough, so I stole data from the company.
Come again?
KB Security had a lot of security info on all sorts of companies. And since I was a security team chief, Mr. Baller found out, and I was fired immediately.
What? I wish I had never asked that!
I was somehow able to keep it secret, and made it seem like I had quit on my own.
So you admit that you stole data from your company, is that correct?
Yes, I'm sorry.
This is a very important fact. Please add it to your testimony. Oh man, this whole thing just took a big turn for the worse. Crashed and blew up. It's gonna take a jaws of life to rip this case from the clutches of despair. And now I go back to that newly added testimony.
The blackmail whole threat didn't scare me. It wasn't going to cause me trouble or anything.
That's a lie, and you know it, boy.
Objection!
Mr. Delight, what you said just now doesn't match what you told me yesterday.
Huh? What doesn't?
I think you must have been scared, very scared, of having a certain person find out your secret. A certain person? Miss Desiree Delight, the defendant's wife.
What? But Listen to me, my Desi, she's...
Looks as if I just sit back and relax the fun one before the trial truly begins.
Godot.
Yes, we know. It was all your wife's fault.
What do you mean?
Mr. Delight still accompanied Dada to pay for his wife's spending habit, for which he was fired, unable to face his own wife. Someone used his dirty little secret to blackmail him. And that is how the murder came about.
Oh.
No, everything is falling neatly into place for him. Don't talk about my Desi like that, or you'll be sorry.
Well, it seems that we've learned a great deal of things here so far.
What do you think, Nick?
I don't think it's what's possible to get so thoroughly whipped in just 20 minutes. Clearly, there was a significant motive for murder. He stole data for his wife, and he killed to protect his secret. A family man who cared just a little too much.
The motive's clear. Let's move on. What happened at the crime scene at 1 in the morning, Mr. Delight? Come on, now tell us. We're all ears.
Okay, testimony number 2. When I entered the office, there was a suspicious shadow there. Suddenly, I was hit on the forehead. After that, I remember being a bit dazed. If I hadn't been wearing that, I might have been killed. When I came to, Mr. Bullard was lying there, dead.
I see. Suddenly it hit you on the forehead, huh? I believe the detective from yesterday provided the similar testimony. He said that Master Mask struck him on the head from behind.
Of course, since Atme Test turned out to be the culprit himself, that was all a lie.
No one's going to believe a pathetic lie like that.
What are you saying? I really was attacked.
We'll find out if you say is true or not during the cross-examination.
Got that, Mr. Trite? Don't go easy just because he's your client. If I see any sign that you are, I'll treat you to another cup of my special blend.
You don't need to worry about that, Mr. Godot. I have faith in Ron. I know he didn't do it. But what was he talking about in his third statement? Let's take a look at that.
If I hadn't been wearing that, I might have been killed.
That? Could you please clarify what you were referring to?
Why, my Master Mask costume, of course.
Wait a moment! Master Mask?
Huh? Oh, did I forget to mention it before? Just to be on the safe side, I dressed as Master Mask. And then, I descended upon the office of the CEO of KB Security.
What?
Did you know about this? You never told me.
I don't recall him mentioning it to me either.
Even I didn't know that. It seemed all the friend really loves to keep secrets.
I'm sorry. I just never had a chance to mention it up until now. Wait. That's not right. You know how sometimes things just slip your mind?
My 6th cup of coffee is staring up at me coldly.
At any rate, I can't ignore this new piece of information. Witness, please correct your testimony.
I'd have been killed if I hadn't been wearing my Master Mask costume.
Okay, let's press this. Why were you dressed up as Master Mask?
Why? Because I'm Master Mask, of course.
What are you talking about? Master Mask's trial is being held next door.
Ah, yes, I guess so. Anyway, at that time, I thought I was being blackmailed over the Master Mask issue. So I thought I should go as him, just to be safe.
Oh boy.
Let me tell you, it's a real pain to move around with that cape. That's why I took a lot longer than I expected.
Took a lot longer? What is he talking about? What do you mean by took a lot longer?
Oh, opening the safe, of course. My cape got caught on the safe door, you see. This all happened when I was hiding Mr. Bollart's body.
What was that? Back up a second!
Yes?
You were the one that hid the body in the safe?
Well, yeah.
Inconceivable! Why? Just why? What reason could you have? What were you thinking?
Question. When does someone toss their dirty shorts into the washing machine?
What?
The answer is simple. When they take them off.
As usual, I have no idea what you're talking about, Mr. Godot.
Do you mean that Mr. Delight hid the body because he's the murderer?
So you're not as stupid as you look. His metaphor this time was really obscure.
Mr. Wright, you don't mean that you knew about this whole safe business, do you?
Well, yes?
Why am I the only one not in the loop here? Witness, make sure you add this to your testimony, now!
Yes, sir.
Uh-oh. Looks like a storm front is moving over to the fair-weather judge.
I panicked and hid the body in the safe. It took about 10 minutes.
That's a lie.
Objection!
Your Honor, could you please take a look at this record? And what might this be? The record for the emergency buzzer that connects the CEO's office to security. If the button in the office was pressed, a security team is supposed to come running. And according to this record, the button was pressed only once at 1:02 a.m. What? If Mr. Rondelite truly was the murderer, he would have had run as soon as that buzzer was sounded. After all, a security guard would have been heading his way.
Objection!
Let's remember who we're dealing with here. We probably had no idea there were security personnel in the building.
Objection!
Up until a year ago, my client was working as a chief of security. There's no way he wouldn't have known about them.
Objection!
But, as it turns out, the guard never came.
That was nothing more than just a coincidence. The fact that the guard was just a pathetic loser who had just gotten punched in the face by his ex's new boyfriend and wasn't anywhere in the facility, he was not something Mr. Delight could have known.
Objection!
Huh. Again, remember who we're dealing with here. Sure bet that Mr. Delight didn't even notice them. buzzer going off?
This buzzer is extremely loud. There is no way he could have ignored something like that. If he had been conscious, that is. Conscious? What do you mean by that?
Fine. To your theory.
Recall the defendant's testimony. The moment he entered the victim's office, someone attacked him. Mr. Delight said he felt dazed. He's unwilling to wager that he was knocked unconscious for at least a few minutes. Unconscious? So he fainted? That's why Mr. Delight didn't know that the buzzer had sounded. And that's why he thought he had time to hide the body.
What are you trying to say?
Mr. Delight was knocked out, and the buzzer went off soon afterwards. Now, unless my client was able to hit the buzzer while he was unconscious, it can only mean that there was another person in that room. That's right, whoever it was, they knocked out Ron Delight and then pressed the buzzer. Order in the court! Mr. Wright, this is...
Objection!
That's preposterous. It was this kid, Ron Delight, the one who killed Ron Delight.
Then who pressed the buzzer?
It was the victim. He pressed the buzzer when the defendant attacked him. Didn't die right away. He must have been held on long enough to push the button.
So Cain Bullard sounded the buzzer himself. What is your opinion on this, Mr. Wright? I need to prove that the real criminal was there at the scene, but how? Can I prove that it wasn't Cain Bullard who sounded the alarm? Yes, I think I can. The defense's option is this, Your Honor. The piece of evidence that proves that it wasn't the victim who sounded the buzzer. I believe this piece of evidence hints of incontrovertible evidence you were looking for. The emergency buzzer? Is there some kind of clue on it? Absolutely not.
Hey, come on now. At least give some thought to what you say before you open your mouth.
The fact that there are absolutely no clues is itself a clue. Now I'm the one who's clueless. This button has no fingerprints on it. If Mr. Bullard had really pressed it himself, naturally he would have left his fingerprints behind.
Objection!
Ron obviously wiped them off.
Why would he? A guard could have come in at any moment.
He touched the button, I know he did.
The defendant, Mr. Light, was dressed as Master Mask. And Master Mask always wears gloves. What reason could he possibly have had to wipe the button free of fingerprints? Order! Order! Order!
It would seem I've been forced to eat crow. I wonder what plant number crow-flavored coffee is.
However, if the real killer was there at the scene, why would that person press the emergency buzzer? Shouldn't they have run away without putting themselves in extra danger? What's with this awkward silence all of a sudden?
It looks like you're fresh out of parlor tricks.
On to you, Nick.
Just give me a minute to collect my thoughts. The real culprit killed Mr. Bullard at around 1 a.m.
Mr. Delight just happened to waltz in there when the murder was taking place, right?
Oh wait, that was Maya's line.
The killer clobbered Mr. Delight and then sounded the buzzer.
Even though security was supposed to respond right away if buzzer was pressed?
Security was supposed to respond.
Time's up, Mr. Wright. Let's hear what you have to say.
Very well then.
You've got some guts. I like that in an opponent.
Why did the real killer sound the emergency buzzer?
To call a guard, obviously. The killer knew that if they pressed that button, a guard would come running. And that was exactly what they wanted.
Do you mean that the killer called the guard on purpose?
Yes. Although, as it turned out, he never showed up.
Because he was getting his class cleaned at the time.
What a touching story. You're saying the killer had a change of heart and called the guard and threw in himself.
No, I'm not. When that buzzer sounded, there were 3 people in that office. The victim, Cain Bullard, who was already dead. The defendant, Ron Delight, who was out cold. And the third person, the real killer. Hypothetically, yes.
Now then, in this situation, if the real killer made an escape, what would happen? The only one left in the room would be the victim and Ron Delight. And if any security guards came running in at that time, they would think that I was the murderer. Yes! That is precisely the real killer's objective. To frame Ron Delight for the murder.
Order! Order! Order!
It would seem. But I'm made to eat my own words again.
Actually, you were made to do a spit take with a cup of coffee.
Mr. Wright, who was it? Who was it that tried to frame me? Or wait a second. I'm the one and only masked in mask, so...
Nick, you mean the real killer is...
We're going to drag that person in here right now.
But who is it?
Don't you have any solid... I don't have any solid proof yet, but think about it. The real killer knew Mr. Delight's identity, and they also knew that he had been called to KB security that night. So, the killer used him to execute a well-crafted plan to murder Cain Bullard.
Now then, let's hear your accusation, Mr. Wright. Who is it that framed Ron Delight for the murder of Cain Bullard?
Who else could it be? Detective Luke Atme. He's the only one who could have done it.
Ace Detective.
Luke Atme?
You mean Master Mask did it?
Your Honor, the person being tried in the court next door
is not Master Mask at all. He is, in actuality, the true murderer of Cain Bullard. Order! Order! Mr. Wright, explain yourself! Theft and murder. Which is the more serious crime? They're not even close. Murder is more serious crime, of course. It's a capital crime, subject. Head to capital punishment. Please remember the trial from yesterday, if you would. When Luke at me confessed, there was a huge commotion in the courtroom.
Famous detective unmasked as Master Mask.
Instead of being convicted of murder, he would be found guilty of grand larceny. That was his true objective all along. To be found guilty? Master Mask had the perfect alibi when the murder took place. He was stealing the urn at Lordly Taylor. In other words, being found guilty as Master Mask was Luke Atmey's airtight, watertight, and unaccessible alibi. A guilty verdict? As an alibi? Why, that's unheard of.
You know, it's almost time.
For what?
For Luke Atmey's verdict. It was a pretty simple trial, after all. If we're going to stop this trial and stall that one, we need to do it now, of course. That's assuming you have proof that the detective is the one who committed the murder.
Mr. Luke Atmey's trial has indeed attracted the attention of the entire country. If we were to intrude and fail to provide adequate proof of his true crime, Mr. Delight would be left with no grounds for appeal. Am I really sure about this?
I bet it's only good when your life's in hand.
Mr. Wright, I believe in you.
Mr. Delight?
So, please, I'm begging you.
Thanks, but my decisions will determine the rest of your life. Can I really risk your life like this? Huh? What was that? That voice. It sounds like... Mia! Your Honor, the defense requests an immediate recess.
So that's your answer, huh?
Very well. I've decided as well. This court will now take a 20-minute recess. Mr. Wright, when we return, please summon Mr. Luke Atmey to the stand. Yes, Your Honor. October 14th, 11:58 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 5.
Well, Sir Detective Atmey. I have to say, Mr. Payne, you performed splendidly. Oh, Sir Detective Atmey, you were the one who...
That's enough. This court sees no reason to further prolong this trial. This court finds the defendant, Luke Atmey.
Hold it!
Wait! Don't hand down your verdict yet, please!
Well, Sir Lawyer. Welcome to my courtroom. Who is this hoser, eh?
My name is Phoenix Wright, attorney at law. and I wish to file an accusation against this man. Look at me.
Accusation? You accuse Master Mask?
That man is not Master Mask. He's just a ruthless murderer.
What?
October 14, 12:14 p.m. District Court, defendant lobby number 4. I could have sworn I heard Mia's voice.
So then she's still alive inside your heart. Mickey boy.
Oh, Miss Delight.
Is it true the detective is the real killer?
To be honest, I don't have any definitive proof. But he's the only one who could have done it.
But wasn't he at Lordly Taylor that night? Not to mention we don't know his motive. I mean, why would Detective Emmy want to kill Bullard?
Oops, it's almost time. Better get back into the courtroom. I need to find some solid proof. And it's gonna happen sooner rather than later. October 14th, 12:21 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 6. Now then, this court is back in session. Mr. Luke Atme, please take the stand.
Well. How do you do, Sir Lawyer? I never would have thought to see you acting so recklessly.
I couldn't let them hand down your verdict just yet. Not when it would have given you a perfect alibi. An alibi by the name of Master Mask.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid even the great Luke Atme has no idea what you mean. Of course, I have been in the courtroom ever since 10 o'clock this morning. I'm afraid there's no way I could know what's been going on in here.
You've been in the defendant's seat all day long, correct? Being tried as Master Mask.
Indeed. It's truly child's play to fool the ignorant masses. Not only did the poor fools ask me to protect their valuables, they even gave me a generous reward upon returning their own property to them. Take this red diamond ring that sparkles upon my divine fingers, for example.
So you continue to insist that you are in fact Master Mask.
But of course.
Well then, Luke Atme. Let us begin with this simple question. On October 12th at 1 a.m., Cain Bullard was murdered. Where were you at that time?
One without knowledge lacks even the knowledge that he should be ashamed of himself. But do not worry, I will not hold it against you, Sir Judge.
Thanks?
Alright, Mr. Atme, the night of the murder. Speak. We're listening.
As you wish, Sir Prosecutor. I was still in the urn as Master Mask, just as I announced I would. I had more than enough time to prepare. It was a pathetically easy job. A photograph contains no words, but in this case, one turned out to be my witness. At the time at which the camera captured Master Mask was the same time as the murder.
It seems the main point of discussion will be this photo of the crime scene.
Everything else up until now was all a part of his plan. There has to be a secret to this picture as well. And I think I know what it is. Even the great Master Mask cannot be in two places at once. Now then, if you'll excuse me, I have a verdict to receive.
Hold it!
Unfortunately, Mr. Atme, we still have to do your cross-examination. A fool is a foolish to know that he is a fool.
I think he's trying to say that you're full of it, Nick.
The only thing that's full of it is his alibi. And I sense 2 suspicious testimonies in his testimony. I had more than enough time to prepare. It was a pathetically easy job.
Hold it!
I believe Adrian Andrews hired you for that point? That's right. That was over 20 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. You sent a calling card to Lordly Taylor 10 days before the heist. That would mean you sent out the card after you began your security watch, right? Indeed. There was no reason why I couldn't do both jobs at once. It was the perfect opportunity to steal my latest nugget.
I see. You truly are evil, aren't you?
Yes, evil is what I am.
Hey, Nick. Isn't there something odd about this? Detective Atme was part of his ace detective skills, right? But if the urn was stolen from Lordly Taylor while he was the only one watching it, he'd have no way to maintain his perfect detective persona.
You know, that's true. That is kind of odd. And now the other one. The time at which the camera captured Master Mask was the same time as the murder.
Hold it!
You took the camera that... About the camera that took this photograph. Oh, come now, it was all too clear what you're thinking. Huh? You think I altered the timestamp on the photograph, don't you?
I'm afraid that's impossible. The camera was set up by Lordly Taylor, and on top of that, it was Lordly Taylor's staff that printed the picture's data. Unfortunately for the defense, there's no way the picture could have been altered.
I see.
It looks like I'd better find something else that could be suspicious.
So, this alibi is false?
It has to be. He couldn't have killed Mr. Bullard at KP Security.
But I'm not really spotting anything unusual.
There are 2 possibilities. Either Master Mask is in the photo is fake, or the photo itself is. Now then. A photograph contains no words, but in this case, one turned out to be my witness. So by photograph, you mean this piece of evidence here? Is that correct? Indeed it is, and that is it. It's the very thing that proves I committed the crime. The very thing that proves you committed the crime.
Surely even you understand by now.
Lordly Taylor provided that camera. There's no way I could have tampered with it. That means I could not have killed Kim Bullard unless I had an accomplice.
Come on, think long and hard about this, Knight. The basement warehouse and this picture that supposedly captures it. It's got to be there. Isn't there something funny about this picture? You bet there is. Are you implying that this picture is a fake? You bet I am. There's definitely something strange about this picture. We took a look around at the basement warehouse that night before the theft took place. And there's something in this photo that doesn't match my memory on that night. Very well, then let's hear what you have to say. What about this photograph do you find funny? This, of course.
Take that!
The funny part is right there. Why, this is a blood stain. Ah, the blood? Now this case is getting interesting. Not exactly. This stain is actually pink paint. Oh, just paint? And peach colored at that. From blood to peaches, the judge sure loves going on his wild tangents. The problem with this photograph is not the paint. The problem is when you consider the layout of the basement warehouse. It turns out that something that should be there is nowhere to be seen. Well, Mr. Wright? What's supposed to be in this picture instead of the paint stains? This, of course.
Take that!
The supervisor at the treasure exhibit stated the following.
Well, there's good reason for that. On the day of the crime around noon, the golden statues happened to arrive from the mountain training hall. I realized that statue would be the perfect size for covering up the paint stains. That's why I put it where you first saw it. I myself was there that night the theft took place and saw the statue in that spot. If this picture was truly taken on the night, then that statue should have been there.
Objection!
But when I went there the day after the theft, that statue of the old bag was sitting in the corner.
Perhaps it was somehow pushed there by accident? Your Honor, this statue is slightly larger than yourself and quite heavy. It would take more than accidental push to move it that distance.
In that case, can you prove it? Can you give us the rhyme and reason as to why the statue was moved that night? Can you do it, Nick?
Never mind who moved it. The real question is, why did they move it? Well, Mr. Wright, I hope you are prepared with your answer. Now then, who was the one that moved that golden statue on the night of the crime? Who do you think? The one who moved the statue is none other than Luke Atme. Come now, Sir Lawyer. There you go again on one of your strange delusions. Mr. Wright, what bias do you have for your strange delusions? It's very simple. The witness was the only one in the basement warehouse that night. That is indeed very simple, however. Why would I want to move a heavy golden statue? The reason for moving the gold statue. Here's where our battle really begins. Well, Mr. Wright, what reason did the witness have to move that statue? The reason can be found here in this photograph. Look at me. You pretend to be Master Mask to create an alibi by showing you were Lordly Taylor that night. But this photograph contains a single fatal flaw. If the statue had been there, your lie would be exposed like a cheap film at a drugstore. That is why you had to move that statue. A single fatal flaw?
Interesting theory. Please enlighten us. Just where did this picture... Does this lie exist?
Here, of course.
Take that!
Naturally, it lies in this photo. The lie in this photo is the timestamp. What do you mean? I'll tell you exactly what I mean. On the night in question, Luke Atmey went to KB Security and murdered Kane Bullard. Therefore, it's obvious. It would have been impossible for him to have been at Lordly Taylor at this time. What does that have to do with the statue being moved? Remember, if you will, Your Honor. When was the statue placed beside the warehouse door? Well?
The statue was taken down to the warehouse on the day of the crime. In there in order to cover up paint.
Exactly. Luke Atmey had already decided on the time when he was going to kill the victim. And so, in order to create an alibi for that time, he took this picture days before the murder took place.
What the?
Of course, the statue hadn't yet been brought down to the basement warehouse yet. Oh. So, on the day of the crime, Mr. Atmey must have been quite nervous. As nervous as a long-tailed cat in a rocking chair factory, so to speak. Why? Because something that wasn't supposed to be there had been brought down and placed where it wasn't supposed to be. And that is why Luke Atmey had to move the statue on the night of the murder. He did it to make the room match with the way it had been in this photo. Yeah. Order! Mr. Atmey, is this true? One moment, Your Honor. Have you forgotten this? What's that? The data from the basement warehouse computer. According to this, the camera did indeed go off on the night of the crime.
Objection!
It's true that the camera had been set up by the Lordly Taylor staff. However, the program used to manage that data was yours. That alone would have allowed you to tamper with the data. Yeah. Order! Mr. Goda, what is the meaning of this? Goda! I warned you about making me wait! Put that coffee down!
In my 11th cup, I promised to drink no more than 17 during the trial. Which means I'm still good to the last drop.
However, the defense has a very good point.
Good point. So what? We are all but traveled from the road of
I think you got your points mixed up with your other points.
So you say this photograph was taken ahead of time, and that the statue was moved in order to make it match. That's a very interesting idea. However, there's one point that can't be denied.
Which is?
That it's only a possibility. Men that are trapped by the chains of need can never reach their dreams.
That's very true. No way! Don't fall for that, Your Honor!
Hey, Mr. Damask,
Yes?
if there's no funny business in your actions as Master Mask, there should be no problem with you telling us your strategy. So let's hear it.
Yes, please provide this court with your testimony about your plan to steal the sacred urn.
Gladly. I first received the request from Lordly Taylor about 20 days ago. The urn was placed in a box in Sverige. It was then sent to the warehouse. Hence, I was actually able to see the urn for myself until the day of the crime. I knew it was an extremely valuable treasure, so I sent my guard 10 days ahead. I then handled security by myself to ensure that my crime would go smoothly. At least, I held the urn in my hands for the first time at 1 a.m. on October 12th.
That's pretty much all the stuff we've heard before, isn't it?
Yeah, but we still find the truth hidden in the nuggets of new information he gives. Witness, you're sure there's no mistakes in this one?
Sverige.
Very well then. Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. With pleasure.
I first received the request from Lordly Taylor about 20 days ago.
You were asked to guard the urn by Miss Adrian Andrews, is that right?
Indeed. It seems that they have heard of my sparkling reputation.
I see Miss Andrews is still attracting the weirdos. You'd better watch out too, Maya.
The urn was placed in a box in Sverige. It was then sent to the warehouse.
Objection!
Mr. Ratme, if you really are Master Mask, then you also wrote this calling card, correct?
But of course.
Is there a problem with that calling card?
Allow me to read a passage from the calling card that Master Mask has written. Take good care of this sparkled urn. Now, the sparkled here surely refers to this pink pattern on the sacred urn. Yes, that is true. But so what? Truth be told, there is no way that Master Mask could have known about this pattern.
What do you mean?
This pink, spotted pattern on this urn is actually nothing more than paint stains. Paint stains? And these stains did not appear until after the urn had been taken from the Lordly Taylor.
I'm not finding this joke to be very funny, Mr. Trite.
Oh, it's no joke. The day that the sacred urn was taken to the warehouse, the urn was broken due to human error, or should I say, an error-prone human. And that's when the pink paint got on the urn.
You can't be serious.
And yet this calling card clearly mentions the paint pattern. Which means Detective Atme had seen this urn long before the crime ever took place. In fact, he saw it when this fake photo was taken. And because this photo is a fake, your alibi for the night of the murder no longer holds water. Witness, do you have anything to say for yourself? Alright, that did it. He's broken.
Nick, I think it's still a little early for a victory pose.
Huh?
It's so sad. No one has any convictions these days.
Conviction? You say?
Yesterday, we all decided honestly that this man was masked to mask. And now we're calling him a murderer. You don't think that we're being a tad fickle?
But that's a good point.
No way! Don't fall for that too, Your Honor!
You say that Look At Me was the only one to kill Kane Bow. So let me ask you this. Why would he do that?
An excellent point. Motive, Mr. Wright. Motive. Might you, my murderous motive, manifest?
Nick, you're getting a second wind.
If he prepared an alibi and pinned his crime on Ron DeLite, as you say, he must have a very strong motive for murder.
The only one with the motive that we've seen is Ron DeLite. Isn't that right?
Indeed. According to my research, the boy's motive is clear.
Without a motive, it's nearly impossible to prove the guilt in a murder case. Now then, maybe you can enlighten us to what the defendant's motives are?
I'll be honored to, Sir Lawyer. They're doing everything they can to make Ron look suspicious. Despite our lack of hard information, this may be our only chance. Look At Me, had no point of contact with the victim whatsoever. Kane Ballard decided to investigate Master Mask and simply mistook me who he was. It was Mr. Ballard who wrote the blackmail letter and sent it to Ron DeLite. And it was again Mr. Ballard who harbored the grudge against Mr. DeLite for his betrayal. Mr. Ballard's mistake is quite excusable. The defendant truly believes he is Mr. Misk. That is why Ron DeLite saw it fit to kill Kane Ballard. Truly a tragedy.
So the victim, Kane Ballard, blackmailed the defendant?
This is the blackmail letter found at the defendant's apartment. A handwriting test confirmed that Mr. Bullard was indeed the one who wrote the letter.
What? Very well. Mr. Wright, begin your cross-examination.
But how would he know about that blackmail letter? How would you know about this?
Objection!
Mind if I ask you a few questions, Detective Atme? Well, if it's a few, I guess it's alright. When you said this letter was addressed to Mr. DeLite, I couldn't help but notice one major contradiction. Contradiction?
I don't know where the walking contradiction, like, you get off saying things like that.
You're one to talk.
At times like these, men are made to express themselves with their fists. Why don't you show us what you got there, Junior?
Indeed. Time to man up, Mr. Wright. Show us the contradiction evidence in the contents of the blackmail letter.
Perhaps he knew about something like this?
Take that!
Take a good look at this newspaper clipping. It contains a picture of the Tear of Enemon, a stolen jewel. What about it?
The problem is this, the jewel's color.
Color? I'm not much for discussing color myself.
According to this clipping, the color of the jewel stolen was blue. However, in the blackmail letter, a totally different jewel is mentioned. I'll take that red diamond you received the other day. Red? Which means the red diamond described in the blackmail letter is not the Tear of Enemon that Master Mash stole at all.
Objection!
And your point is, Mr. Trite? So you're trying to say that this blackmail letter was intended for someone else? Is that what you're trying to say? Right, Trite?
That is what you're trying to say, right, Mr. Wright?
Well, that is what you're trying to say, right, Nick?
Yes. This is who Kane Bullard is actually blackmailing.
Take that!
Naturally, it was you, Detective Atme.
Do you have some sort of bias for that claim?
You have been personally involved in every single Master Mask case. And in the last case, you recovered what was stolen. You received a jewel. And your reward,
A jewel?
probably the one wrapped conspicuously around your finger. That red diamond ring. That is the diamond referred to in the letter. Which means that Kane Bullard wrote that letter in order to blackmail you. Yeah? Order in the court.
It seems you've gone too far with your childish pranks, Mr. Trite.
Uh-oh. I don't like the way he said that.
Kane Bullard, blackman, look at me. Are you for real?
Yes, I am.
Come on, stand up to him.
Then answer me this. The blackmail letter contains the following passage. If you don't want your identity revealed to the world.
Yes, it clearly does.
Kane Bullard threatened to make Luke Atme's identity publicly known. An identity he wanted to keep a secret. So just what is that identity?
Atme killed Kane Bullard because he was afraid of his secret being known. What was the identity he was trying to keep secret?
This is what it all comes down to, Nick.
The identity that Luke Atme wanted so desperately to keep secret was this. Luke Atme was a blackmailer.
Objection!
Hey now. Isn't that a little different from what you've been saying? You said that Kane Bullard was the one blackmailing Luke Atme. Are you saying that Atme was blackmailing someone else on top of that?
You have to admit it. That does sound a little odd.
It's not odd. It's the only thing that makes any sense. King Ballard was blackmailing Luke Atme. But Ron DeLite was also receiving blackmail letters by someone. So, did you start receiving blackmail letters after this incident?
Yes, just a few days after the Tear of Enemon heist. After that, I started getting the plans in the mail. I received plans from some very kind person. Incredibly detailed plans.
Detailed plans? In which case, that would mean that Ron DeLite was actually Master Mask. That is what we are claiming. Someone else came up with the plans and had Mr. DeLite steal his targets for him. And that someone is none other than Luke Atme.
Shh! Silence! Now I see. It's all becoming clear.
What is?
When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Careless, with the tendency to jump to conclusions. Am I wrong?
How did you?
You say that I, Luke Atme, was blackmailing Ron DeLite. In which case, I would naturally know all about his relation to Master Mask.
Well, yes.
Ron DeLite started receiving plans from this second crime outward, correct? Which means I learned of his identity when he committed the first crime.
Good point. You certainly couldn't have blackmailed him otherwise.
In that case, let's see some hot bitter evidence during the first crime. How did Luke Atme know that Ron DeLite was Master Mask?
This is how.
Take that!
I think I see it.
See what?
When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Getting into lots of mischief, trying to be the center of attention.
What do you mean?
This newspaper clipping. It has a picture of you and Ron DeLite in this guard uniform. It seems that Master Mask didn't just disappear into thin air. He just took off his outfit and hid it in a bucket. That sounds far too stupid to be true. Correct. With tricks like that, he couldn't fool a baby, let alone an ace detective. And that's when you figure it out, Mr. Atme. That when you learn that under the mask... What the? What's he supposed to be, Master Mask? Not only that, it looks like he wasn't even an ace detective. I can't believe it. It's just a slimy fraud. We're trying to pass him as an ace detective?
Why, you? How dare you expose me like that? Why, I mean, I never blackmailed anyone in my life. I'm a famous and proud ace detective and also Master Mask. Why can't you understand that?
I'm afraid you are neither a proud thief, nor an ace detective. You're a blackmailer and a murderer. That is your true identity.
Why, you? How dare you?
Oh boy, he's going too fast. I can't read his lines. It would seem we finally arrived at the real answer.
That was quite a performance by Mr. Atme.
Bailiff, please prepare a cell for Mr. Atme.
Objection!
Now what?
The hammer strikes too fast, has no time to aim.
What do you mean? I'm already prepared to deliver my ruling.
Allow me to say one thing. I will be the one to judge.
You don't get much in your face than that.
It appears that your claws weren't quite sharp enough, Mr. Trite.
What do you...
It's true that you could a lot of things. Things like Luke Atme was a filthy blackmailer. And that he wasn't at Lord Taylor the night of the murder.
That's right. That's why he's the one who killed Mr. Bolt.
There's still one thing you have yet to prove.
What's that?
Just because he wasn't at the warehouse doesn't mean he was at the murder scene. Therefore, if you can prove that his pitiful excuse of a man was at KB Security, then I don't see how a verdict can be delivered.
No, no way!
Order in the court. Well, Mr. Wright? This is it. This is the final round. I've got to prove that Mr. Atme, he was at Mr. Bullard's office on that night.
But can you really prove that?
That's long enough, Mr. Trite. I want to hear your answer.
We can't prove it. I can't prove it. Just as I thought. But if we hear more of Detective Atme's testimony...
Objection!
Unfortunately, that's as far as you go, Mr. Trite.
What do you mean?
I won't allow for any more testimony. That's what I mean.
What?
Have you forgotten? Luke Atme is here after we interrupted his own trial. And you have failed to prove that he committed the murder. I think it's time for this witness to return to his own trial to face the guilty verdict as mask to mask.
No.
Well now, Sir Lawyer, it seems that love wins out in the end after all. I unmasked the mask as well as the ace detective as well as Master Mask. My verdict will verify that. Just as Rondelite will verify that he is the true murderer. I declare that with the full force of my ace detectiveness.
Order in the court. That's enough deliberation over this witness.
I can't believe this. At this rate, Ron is...
Don't give up now, Nick. We still have tomorrow. We can look for more evidence and...
By then, it'll be too late.
Why?
Double jeopardy. One of the basic rules of any court of law.
Double jeopardy?
Should a defendant be tried and found innocent in court, that defendant cannot be tried again for the same crime. It is a fundamental rule for all courts. And it applies to this witness as much as it applies to anyone else.
Mr. Atme will be found guilty in a matter of minutes. Guilty as mask to mask, which means
He will be innocent as far as the murder of Cain Ballard is concerned. The fact that you were unable to prove who Mr. Acme's guilt at that crime scene here means that he will never again be tried as Cain Bullard's murderer.
Now there's nothing I can possibly do to win. Even if Ron is proclaimed to be innocent, the real killer, Luke Atme, will go free.
You have cross-examined every statement the witness has made here today. And as long as there is no more testimony, I'm afraid I have to declare that there will be no further questioning for this witness. Are there any objections? Then I hereby end the cross-examination of Luke Atme.
Objection! I think I see it. Your Honor, when you were a child, this was on your report card every year. Has poor hearing and often makes mistakes as a result.
How did you?
Phoenix, raise your head up high. Have you forgotten what I used to tell you? A lawyer is someone who smiles no matter how bad it gets.
That voice. No way!
Long time no see.
Mia!
This is the true power of the Curane channeling technique. I know that it's really Maya who's standing before me, but right now she's my mentor, Mia Fey.
Now let's do this.
But there's nothing more we can do, Mia. Without any more testimony, I can't cross-examine.
Not yet. The testimony is not over.
What do you mean?
Your Honor, just now you said something very interesting. You have cross-examined every statement this witness has made here today.
Yes, that's true, but...
Unfortunately, Your Honor is forgetting something. Earlier, after the last cross-examination, the witness made a number of remarks.
Well now, Sir Lawyer, it seems that love wins out in the end after all. I am the ace detective as well as Master Mask. My verdict will verify that. Just as Ron the Light will verify that he is the true murderer. I declare that with this full force of my ace detectiveness.
Yes, but these comments appear to have no importance whatsoever.
Very well. Then shall we prove their innocence by a cross-examination? At any rate, as long as the witness has made these remarks, we, the defense, assert our right to question them. Is that all right with you, prosecutor?
Is something the matter, Mr. Godot?
Nothing.
Oh, Sir Lawyer, it looks like you're one step too late. If you think such foolishness will do anything to me, like, look at...
Let's hear it.
Huh?
It's true the witness made some remarks. So then, let's hear this last bit of cross-examination.
Mr. Godot, what are you...
Very well then, Mr. Luke Atme. I'm going to allow the defense to cross-examine your earlier remarks.
The defense would like to hear what you declared the defendant to be the true murderer.
So please, give us one last bit of testimony.
Phoenix, this is it. This is our absolute last.
Yes, Chief.
final testimony.
Indeed, it is true that I am not at Lloyd Lee Taylor. Had to leave to see about another vitally important job request. I know about the data beforehand, so I had this photograph redated. My brilliant deduction was that informed me that the true culprit was Luke Ron Delight. And thanks to the key card and wallet, it was abundantly clear that he was there. I was also able to make a deduction from the buzzer, which only sounded once. The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? The victim would have left prints on it if he sounded, which means the killer sounded it. Mr. Delight was wearing his Master Mask outfit, which is why he left no prints. And the blackmail letter? The victim likely just mistook the color of the jewel. Svary. Therefore, all the evidence points to that poor boy. This testimony actually holds up pretty well.
The witness's earlier remarks do not appear to have hostility prepared. All of these points have been explained, and none of them seem to contradict anything. Actually, I think I know one contradiction.
But of course.
But how did you know about the emergency buzzer?
The police investigation documents went directly through me. And I always look over the documents. It's elementary, sir lawyer.
Are you going to make even more trouble for me now, Sir Lawyer?
I will not allow any of your usual shenanigans, Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor.
We cannot postpone Luke Atmey's trial any longer. This is your last chance.
Hang on a second. Just one chance?
It seems the party's about to begin. Phoenix?
Isn't there any evidence that contradicts with that testimony?
It would seem.
What? What do you mean, so it would seem?
Listen, Phoenix, pointing out contradictions doesn't always mean there's evidence, does it? At any rate, this is our chance. If you can't point out a case-breaking contradiction, then you lose. That's all there is to it. Cup number 17. The last cup. It seems like the time has come to put an end to this trial.
I have to find a fatal contradiction in his testimony. And I need to point it out without presenting evidence. Which means all I can do is find a contradiction, remark, and press it.
Remember, you only get one chance.
Very well then. Mr. Wright, please begin your cross-examination.
And I think I know which one contradicts him. How would he know about this? Mr. Atmey, about this last remark.
You still don't get it, do you, Trite? This isn't the time to be pressing our witness on every little statement.
I'm afraid you're the one who still doesn't get it, Mr. Goda.
What?
Mr. Atmey, it seems you have finally admitted that you were in the CEO's office on the night of the murder.
How can you say that?
Let's review your testimony, shall we, Mr. Atmey? The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? Mr. Delight was wearing his Master Mask costume. Is that correct?
Indeed. That is what I said. My deductions are absolutely foolproof.
Well, like your deductions prove that you're a fool.
I'm sorry, whatever do you mean?
For some reason, I'm starting to get really pissed.
When exactly did we learn the fact that Ron DeLite was dressed as Master Mask when he went into the scene of the crime? That was,
It was just a few hours back. Back when my sixth cop was looking at me with a cold stare.
Huh? Oh, did I forget to mention it before? I'm sorry, I just never had a chance to mention it up until now.
That's right. The defendant had yet to tell anyone else this fact before this morning. Therefore, the only person who should have known this are those who have been watching this trial. Do you understand now, Detective Atme? There is no way that you should have known about that. You were in the next courtroom being tried as Master Mask. So then, enlighten us. How did you know about this piece of information? Well,
Come on. This detective must have known about it. He probably had plenty of chances to find out
Objection!
and it's those chances that I want to discuss next. That night, Mr. DeLite was wearing his Master Mask outfit. There is only one way for Detective Atme to have found that out. Only one.
One way, you say.
Please recall, if you will, Mr. DeLite's testimony.
When he entered the office, there was a suspicious shadow there.
For a second, my client witnessed the real killer.
But Mr. DeLite never saw it. There's no way to tell whether or not the real killer was Luke Atme.
Objection!
It was with that statement that I'll turn this case on its head.
What are you implying?
Mr. DeLite saw the real killer, correct? Now, if you turn the statement around, it stands to the reason that the real killer had also seen Ron DeLite.
Impossible.
Detective Atme, you saw Master Mask at the murder scene that night. You saw him when you killed Kane Bullard and assaulted Ron DeLite. That was the only way you could have known what Ron was wearing. Breakdown of the real killer.
Take a good look, everyone. Unable to find a rival worthy of my genius, I was able to force and create one myself. Here I am, the treasure clown.
That's the same line you gave yesterday. But I think there's a little more meaning behind it this time. What an awfully complicated incident. Kane Bullard was blackmailing Luke Atme, who was in turn blackmailing Ron DeLite. And upon killing his blackmailer, Luke Atme tried to frame Ron DeLite. He then claimed to be guilty as Master Mask in order to escape his true crime. And to that end, he came up with this plan: to use the double jeopardy rule when making his alibi. At any rate, it would seem that we finally found the truth.
Excuse me.
I came perilously close to besmirching. I came perilously close to besmirching the record of an innocent young boy. Again. Besmirching him with the title of murderer.
Don't ignore me.
Oh, I didn't realize you were there. Why wouldn't he be?
About the verdict.
I know, you never committed any murder.
That's right. I'm so glad for you understand that, but I really am Master Mask.
Huh?
So, thanks to that trial yesterday, I'm innocent now, right? What was it you said? Double jeopardy?
Now that you mention it. Careless? What do you think, Mia?
As the defendant says, the rule of double jeopardy is absolute. A defendant can never be tried twice for the crime and he was found innocent.
Then, Master Mask is really innocent?
For now, it would seem so.
For now. Now then, this court finds the defendant not guilty! Huzzah!
Boy, this is really lucky. Wait, this isn't so good after all. You see, the thing is, I still am messed up.
October 14th, 3:35 p.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 4.
You did it, Nick.
Thanks, Mia. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's because Maya doesn't call on me much these days.
Oh?
I'm just joking, Phoenix. Don't ever take everything seriously. On the other hand, Maya seems kind of lost these days.
You mean about becoming the master of the curing channeling school?
Becoming a master and saying goodbye to our mother.
Misty Faye, right?
Watch over her, will you, Phoenix?
Of course.
See you around.
Mia?
Mr. Wright. I don't know what to say.
Congratulations, Mr. Delight.
Thank you so much. No, wait. Nothing really matters anymore, though.
Come on, just be happy already.
Maya,
You've been cleared of murder charges and get off as Master Master boot.
But in exchange, I lost everything. Stealing security information from KB Security, becoming Master Mask. I did it all for one reason. For her.
you mean your wife, Desiree.
She hates criminals more than anything.
Come to think of it, she was once held hostage by some robbers, wasn't she?
She always said how she hates sneaky criminals. I knew that, but once I got fired from KB Security, I lost all the money I had. She would have had many reasons to stay with me. I thought she would leave me for sure.
So that's why you became Master Mask?
Yes, but it's all over now. A broken bowl can never be put back together.
That's not true, right, Nick?
Right.
Really? Can we go back to the way things were?
Oh, you'll be fine, and Nick can prove it.
I can. I kind of wish would check with me first. Mr. Delight, even if the bowl is broken, there is always a way to put it back together.
Take that!
The sacred urn? Desi was the one who found this.
Desiree, your wife, she always believed in you, Ron.
That's why you'll be fine. You don't have to worry about anything.
There you are.
Miss Delight,
You did it, Ronnie. You're innocent. I'm so happy.
Thank you. I appreciate that, but, I suppose you don't want anything more to do with me, do you?
Ronnie, why didn't you talk to me about what was going on? I had no idea you quit KB Security. I never imagined that you were really Master Mask either. Mr. Light, what are you going to do now that you know? You're not really going to leave him, are you? Come on, isn't it obvious? How could I ever leave a wonderful man and let him get away? After all, my bike's really fast. So fast there's no way you could ever get away.
But didn't you say that you hated criminals?
Huh? Oh, I only hate people who act cowardly and sneaky. Like that detective.
I see.
My Ronnie went and declared his crimes before he committed them, like a man. I just love a man who's chivalrous. Chivalrous? I knew I was right about you. Every day I spend with you is filled with thrills and excitement.
Desi.
Desiree, you really do rough Ron, don't you?
Nicky boy,
Yes?
I'm really glad I asked you to defend my Ronnie. Thank you so much. I'll never forget what you've done for us.
Oh, well, take care of yourself.
You too, Nicky boy.
Oh, I can feel my face going red.
Mr. Nick, Mystic Maya.
Oh, fudge, bad timing.
Congratulations.
Talk about bad timing.
Mr. Nick, how could you with another man's wife and in front of Mystic Maya?
No. So, just as the case came to a close, so did my consciousness. Ron said a broken bowl can never be put back together. But I know that's not true. I mean, just look. Here's a perfect example of one that was put back together, even better than before. And thus brings us to a close to episode 11. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Let's Replay Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogies. When we come back, we will be starting episode 12. Recipe for a Turnabout.